Good morning, everyone. My name is Hudetz. I am a senior design manager at DocuSign, and today I'm excited to tell you all about how I feel AI will impact the day-to-day work of product design. But to start, I want us to do a brief visualization together to get us grounded. So I need you to picture it was earlier this year, and you are at a dinner party, and we're seated next to each other, and we start talking and ask normal things. How do you know the host? Where are you from? What's your favorite color? Etc. And I would inevitably turn the conversation to AI. I was insufferable. It's all I could think about. It's all I could talk about. And I ultimately would sound like the CEO of Google at a recent I/O event.
AI, generative
And that's the talk. Thank you, Deepfake Drake, for that soundtrack there. But how could we not be excited? There was so much coming out at this time. We had text to images that were just blowing my mind every day. We had text to video that every day I'm seeing new stuff that I just can't imagine. Text to code, I'm not an engineer, but I know how important that was. Text to taco, but that is in beta. I hear it's great. And then we have text to text, obviously, that we're all grappling with at the moment to understand. Now, I know you all have seen the many kind of parlor tricks of what these things can do, but I'm going to give you a few more. So let's write a haiku about UX Strat. So here's what we got.
The best and brightest gather in Boulder this fall to share their wisdom.
All right, best and brightest. Very flattering from the AI model. There it is. All right, let's try another one here. Create a horror Netflix series about UX Strat. Let's see what it's got. Of UX Strat, where the dead are still designing. I feel like I could binge watch that over a weekend. Could be pretty interesting. All right, one more. Let's do create a drink inspired by the UX Strat. And here we have the UX refresher. This sounds great. And here's a photo of it. Now, I was hoping we could all enjoy it together tonight, but I had to catch an early flight. So I had AI generate what it would look like for us to drink it in the mountains together. Got a nice soundtrack. Look at how happy we are. This is unfortunately not going to be this way. Our hands are normal. I'm particularly disappointed I'm not going to be there because I really wanted to meet this attendee. Are they out there right now? So my interest in all of this started actually in 2017 when at the agency I was working at, Digitas, I hosted, oh gosh, that's so tiny. I hosted a panel called The Future of Design. And some of the interesting thought leaders on the panel were talking a lot about what AI is and what's coming and how exciting it'll be. And I was planning on stealing all their ideas as my own today, but unfortunately one of the panelists was Mike. I didn't know he was going to be here. I don't think he's here at the moment, So from there, I had this interest, so I started reading a lot, all the non-technical stuff, as much as I could to understand the history and the impact. And one book that I really got a lot from was AI and UX. Planning on stealing that as well, but it was Gavin's book who spoke yesterday, so it's stealing all of my content I was going to speak on. Now, I've learned the most, however, working at DocuSign. I am a product design manager for a team that focuses on how we can integrate large language models into our different products and services. To start here, I'm going to give you my not very hot take, but my thesis is I really think AI is going to transform what it means to design, what it means to be a designer, and the work that we do. There's so many articles, this one just came out a few weeks ago, about how all knowledge workers are going to have to reskill and upskill and our work is going to evolve, and I don't believe that design is immune to that. So let's go back to my thesis. So I think AI will change what we design. I like to use the metaphor of, it's kind of the mobile revolution at the moment, where suddenly we are confronted with new technology, new capabilities, and ways in which to solve user problems. So for example, before the mobile phone and before GPS and mobile payments built into what we carry around every day, Uber couldn't exist. Before cameras on our phone and the LiDAR technology, we couldn't do augmented reality experiences. And then with a simple new swipe gesture like Tinder, it transformed the dating scene. And I really hope this guy finds somebody because he's going really aggressive here. Look at that. So my take here is just as the shift to mobile design, this is the most amount of text I'm going to put up, empowered designers to create more innovative and user-friendly solutions, I think generative AI will do the same. So I've been on a team since January, and we've focused on creating this new space. We're calling it DocuSign AI Labs. It's an experimental place where people can come and upload agreements and then see the different ways in which large language models can help you understand them and work on your processes. It's being released this month, and it was really exciting to be kind of at the ground floor of seeing how we can transform what we do for our customers with these tools. That is interesting. That is a case study that hopefully Paul can help me do or bring me to do in Rio sometime when he goes there. But what I'm really more interested in and I want to talk about today is how AI will change how we design. So what are all of the different distinct tasks and responsibilities that we have as designers throughout the entire design process, and in what ways can AI come in and augment or improve or amplify our skills as designers in all those stages? So then naturally, I think the question becomes, well, how do we prepare? If this is true, then what do we do as the strategists and the designers here? When Paul recruited me to this, he said, people love frameworks. People love frameworks. That's how we remember things. So I made up my own based on what I learned this year, and also what friends are doing in my own reading. So I see 3 steps for all of us, you and your team, in order to get to a place where you can really integrate these tools properly in your workflow. So first step, just going to explore, get to know the concepts of what can be done, just at a high level, conceptually, what can these generative AI tools do? Second, I'm calling mock-up. Just make stuff. Whether it's related to your work or not, just kick the tires, see what it can do and it can't do. And then finally, I'm calling it imagine. Now that you have a sense of what these things can do, both conceptually and viscerally, now think about what can it mean for your company and what can it mean for your individual workflows. Now, love a good mnemonic to wrap it up, so I'm going to call it Ex Machina. I think this is something that helps me. So a framework for upskilling your AI literacy, competency and confidence. I hope you associate it with, but don't confuse it with Ex Machina from The Machine, or the fantastic 2014 film Ex Machina, where Oscar Isaac proves that he can really do anything. The guy is unstoppable. Oh, can you see that? He's dancing. It's really So let's walk through all these and how I see those playing out. So explore. I'd say the focus here is on AI literacy. How can you just understand what these things can do? There's a quote from Socrates: education is the kindling of a flame, not the filling of a vessel. And he and I together combined to say, learning what generative AI can do is the kindling of a flame and not the filling of a vessel. It was a combo quote, not to say. So I know this might go against what some have said so far in the conference, but I really think it's more important to understand what generative AI can do and not necessarily how it does it. When I talk to colleagues in a variety of industries, I feel like just hearing AI, or even people on my team across the company, like kind of spooks them off because it seems like it's somehow in the engineering world and I'm not interested. So I really think you can understand these models, but I talk to my engineers about it to understand it, but I really try to focus on what conceptually can they do at a high level at the moment. It's changing all the time of what is possible and new breakthroughs, it seems, weekly. And that just comes from reading up on it, staying current. You can even ask these large language models, what do you do? How can you do it? And you can learn that way in order to make sure you're staying relevant. So I think even just, again, conceptually understanding what they can do is really important. A friend and I did a podcast this year called A76, so we were interviewing different designers, people in the field to understand what their take on it so that we can understand. There was one speaker in particular. I was planning on stealing all of his ideas, but it's Gavin again. God, this guy is everywhere. Thanks, Gavin. All right, so my advice then is once you, in this room, and I'm guessing most of you are already in some ways subject matter experts, once you've developed an understanding of the capabilities, you gotta share the knowledge with your team so they have a sense of what can be done collectively and individually. What I did with a colleague, someone on my team, is that we would just host workshops with my immediate team, kind of run them through, here's what's happening right now, let's everybody log in, let's try these tools, and let's see what we can do. I did this company-wide as well, and showed the entire process of how we might design a new product, and all the ways in which generative AI could be a part of it. Okay, so if we have AI literacy, it's number one, let's talk about mock-up. And this is just experimentation. What can be done with these things in any capacity? So if Einstein says creativity is intelligence having fun, then he and I will say amplified creativity is artificial and human intelligence having fun together. It's a combo, it's a good combo. This report came out recently from Asana, and they interviewed all of these different knowledge workers to understand their take or their understanding of generative AI. And 28% thought they'd be viewed as lazy if they used it at work. And then 1 in 5 said they would feel like frauds if they used it at work. So a large chunk of knowledge workers would call me a lazy fraud, which is unfortunate. But I think if you're concerned about using it at work, then there are ways to use it outside of work and just kick the tires again and see what it can do. So some examples. My good friend Mick Champagne, maybe some of you know her, she's kind of a name in the design world. She moonlights as an illustrator, and she has this very specific style of illustrations that are often kind of like these high contrast colors and kind of funny themes. But she wondered earlier this year, could she train a model on her imagery and then be able to, generate her own images from natural language? So she found the service online, she uploaded a bunch of her content, and then it processed them very efficiently. And at the end of it, she was able to start typing in, what do we think? So a dog in roller skates. And remember, it took her style, which you saw for a second, and it gave kind of these wonky things. Then she would do a very important one, a computer farting. I don't know what that would look like in general, but it wasn't getting it right. So she tried and tried and tried, and she kept refining and kept uploading. And then finally, on day 3, it produced this. And she said she was like stunned at the computer because she's like, I would have drawn this. This is insane. So from there, she figured out the prompting, she figured out the refinement, and ultimately, she could then keep experimenting and seeing what her style would look like with all these celebrities or different textures. And she said, at the end of it, she says, I think reframing generative AI to be a collaborator and not the enemy is the right move. So she used this personal experimentation to understand it as an artist to see, what does this mean for me and my work? All right, another example. This guy, Andreas Refsgaard, he is a coder based in Copenhagen, and he decided to see what it would be like to combine image recognition and large language models and see what could be done with it. Again, just experimentation. And he developed something called Meme Cam, where you upload an image, it analyzes the image, it gives it to a large language model, and then it makes a meme. So here are some that I made over the last couple of days. Because nothing says getting cultured like a neon sign slapped on the side of a fancy building. All right, another one, this is from yesterday. When you want to make a point at a meeting, but PowerPoint crashes just to spite you. I think that has happened to a few. And then my favorite, when you try to spy on your crush, but you forgot to clean your glasses. It's pretty clever though, got the blur, and knows it's my crush. But we have all these other examples that when I would kind of get everyone to think about it, like, you should try this, just see what it can do in your life. And people were just inventing things and seeing what worked. Like one of my reports, she did a maid of honor speech and got choked up when she was reading it. And then another friend tried to plan a bike route and it just made up locations that aren't there. So it kind of went all over the gamut. But really, the focus here is just to see what it can do. Just kick the tires in any part of your life. While you're doing it though, I see us all playing this is a framework within a framework, so a frameception, I'm going to call it, Paul. And it's an important, I think we all, as designers, play 2 important roles in this creation. So first, we are the prompters. We are the ones that know the problems to solve. We have the experience, the context, the questions to ask. But education, that one great teacher, that one horrible client, we have all of that in our head. When we ultimately ask this AI black box officially to do something. And then when it comes back to us, then you got to evaluate, you got to use that critical thinking in order to make sure, you're a gatekeeper, is this even worth bringing to the world? Is this even worth including in my work? Is this up to standard? If you copy and paste a draft, you're not doing your job. And then, it starts again. So let's see how that might look. So earlier, my Netflix bit, that was not like a do this and dropped it in. It was an embarrassing amount of time of trying to get this right. But I would say, write a title for a horror Netflix series, and then it would give you some, all right, it's kind of boring, and then it would be all right, it needs to be scary. And then curse conference. Okay, now more about the conference. Okay, Ghost of UX Strat. I like that. I hadn't thought of that. Then we have tagline. I really like that tagline, I think it's pretty cool. All right, but now I need an image. Give me some cover art. So I went and I was in an image generator and it started spitting out. I'm like, okay, I like the eyes in the sky. I like people outside, that's pretty cool. I don't like the red eyes. And then just keep refining and refining until I got to the image that I thought was like creepy and it was better than what I could have thought of on my own. So I put it onto the slide and then I think, okay, but I need a little music to kind of give it the feel. And then I got this one. I'm like, all right, but I want it to be a bit more upbeat. And then I got to the one that felt like this could be like a Netflix piece here. And then it was done. But the part of it though is that the whole time I'm getting input, it's kind of what I wanted, it's better, it's worse, and we'll just keep refining to get it where it was. Co-creation move. We as designers are very important. The prompters and the evaluators are gatekeepers for this to even be, these things to be valuable. Okay, so next, let's talk about Imagine. And by this, it's applications, as you might think. And how do we now, if we have this foundational understanding of it, conceptually and hands-on, how can we actually use this for the products and services we're designing or for the work we're doing day to day? And this is, so, don't ruin the joke, okay, so, this is the CEO of president of OpenAI, and he said, we ourselves are still figuring out new ways to use this, which is kind of in the vein of this Imagine. And then I'm just going to say, yeah, no notes. That's exactly what I would have said as well. So, nice work, right? So like I said, this AI Labs that I worked on, it was a great time to kind of use this as a material designer, use this as a problem-solving mechanism with these generative AI tools. But it's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk more about these different pieces and kind of walk through a bunch of high-level, I know these are all made up, but use cases in which this could be done in the work we do every day. So at a very base level, write us a user research plan for a study about CPG websites. All right, and we've got some pieces that maybe are worth taking and pulling out and adding into the study we're building. Or now we need some survey questions about renting a car online. Okay, so let's get a whole bunch of survey questions. I want them on a Likert scale, make them more quantitative, and then iterate until we find something that's actually helpful. Okay, I want you to take all of these transcripts. When I've done studies before, is like the most annoying part for me. But summarize these transcripts into a list of major user pain points. And this just last week came out from Zoom. They're going to do something called like the AI Companion. And it's the ability to summarize all the notes at the end and give action items based on listening in on the call. Now I think this right here was my name mentioned as like really dangerous. It's like, what if you come late? Someone's talking trash. All right. What about create an executive summary from these transcripts and these survey results? This conceptually can be done. It's just a matter, I think, of putting it all together. I thought the talk yesterday about Dream GPT and how I need to look more into that. That was really great. But then what if you now have to present this to people on your team? Let's put that into a deck format. You'll see now with, Microsoft Copilot and Google Duet, they're showing the ways in which you can take this spreadsheet and turn it into this so I can share it. And I feel like that is going to be a part of the workflow too. Of like, how is this helpful? Where are we going to use it? All right, let's look at a few more. Create a persona based on our user research. So this is, again, a very simple one. But let's get an image, let's get the motivations. We have everything tied to what is in the research we've done, quantitatively, qualitatively. But something that's a little future-facing, but I think could happen, is something called silicon sampling. And there was a research paper that was put out about how they took all of these consumer insights and data points from specific to, I think it was demographics related to politics and what people think about different ideas. And they put them into this persona that then we could ask questions to and just prompt it and say like, well, what would you think about this kind of messaging, etc. But why wouldn't that happen for us with personas in the future? To the point that we could have this.
Hi, I'm Sarah, a user persona created from the hundreds of studies you have performed. I'm happy to make my debut here at UX Strat. How's the talk so far?
Don't answer that. But imagine one day that you have a Zoom call and you just invite Sarah and she's there with you and you can test your assumptions and she can give you input and cite it from the research. That's not that future-facing, it's not that far off. Let's do a few more. So give me 5 ways to improve the grocery store. The idea of idea generation is like one of the most common use cases and being more and more baked into the tools we use every day. FigBot, they just came out with this. It's integrated into FigJam, and it is capable of generating tons of ideas on the spot within the space that you're already working. All right, so a few more. Create a storyboard for an occasional public speaker. This is highly relatable. But sometimes if I make a storyboard, I'm not an illustrator, I have to go and get someone on my team to do it, and then you could break it down and help build empathy using these simple storyboards. And this is on the horizon, on the Uber ride back to the airport, panic, unsure if this talk was coherent, or if anyone liked the jokes. This is a storyboard for me in Pixar format. You've probably all seen these, this idea of finding inspiration, so generate logo ideas for a landscape architect firm. It took me longer to put the slide together than it did to generate the 12 examples here. But again, to be the gatekeeper or the reviewer, it's important that you can look at these and think, are these too similar to other ones out there? For example, when I see this one, I think it looks a lot like the Obama Foundation, and I don't want him coming for me, you know? He could probably have a cease and desist pretty quickly. Come on. All right, moving on. Let's look at illustrations for my app. Rather than going to Dribbble or the other places to get ideas, why not have them come to me and keep refining them to, if not use, but at least get inspiration for it. Same goes for mobile UI design. Where in our process, if you look, this is all gobbledygook. There's nothing great in there and the pictures are weird, but if it gives you a sense of maybe alignment or layout, it could be pretty helpful in that space. Let's see, same with generate desktop UI inspiration. There's a lot of space, a lot of ways to do that now as well. Probably seen this, the Adobe Firefly, where they're building this generative fill capability within, so you can say I want yellow road lines. So if you're thinking of the content that you want to put onto your site or within your experience and you need it to be just a little bit different, like we'll have these capabilities in the tools that we're using. Let's see a few more. Okay, so this one I think is really exciting. I was talking to someone here yesterday, an accessibility kind of guru, and we were talking about how this stuff could be used related to accessibility. So when I did a study before when I was in graduate school, it was around how most infographics, the alt text will just say graph or image. So if someone on a screen reader, if they're going through, they lose all the context of what this actually could be. And if it's an important part of an article that you're reading, then there's a whole bunch of information that's locked away. But with these new tools, you can upload images, and with multimodal understanding, it can then give you alt text that explains it in a very simple way. You can just say, I want a succinct explanation of this, then now I can have the alt text for the image itself. You can make these, I was super impressed, because when I was in graduate school and we'd go and actually talk to users who are blind, they would complain about that. They would show us tons of examples of saying, yeah, I have no idea what this article is about because it's all locked up. And I thought that is just such a cool application. And then finally, I mean, one natural one to think about is how will this be used, let's say, within Figma or Sketch? There are these different startups out there that are trying to connect these kind of text to UI design, and once you can hook that to your componentry and your design system, like what will that be for your flows and how will it move? But I can't help but think that this will be coming to a Figma someday near you, sometime near you. So those are all high-level examples to get you thinking, but maybe, like, what else is there? You know, there's probably a billion other things that you do every day that could some way be helped by this. So let's do a recap here. So oh man, that meme is right. That meme is right. AI will transform what it means to design. Okay. My sub-thesis, it'll change what we design, like I have with AI Labs and the work there, and I'm sure all of your products and services, you're getting demands from either a client or the agency or your actual product team. It'll change how we design, all of the many examples I was just trying to walk you through. And then the question becomes, how can we prepare? I'm recommending my super dorky ex machina theory here as a framework for upskilling, which stands for explore, you and your team, someone on your team, to become focusing on AI literacy, bringing everyone up to speed. We have experimentation, just mocking up whatever capacity that needs, wherever in your life. And then in that experimentation, remember our two very important roles as the prompters and the evaluators, and how we are ensuring that what we're putting out into the world is actually worth putting out in the world. And then finally, we have imagine. How does this apply to the work we do every day, either in the how or in the what? So my hope then is that the next time I see you at some sort of dinner party, you are the one that is telling me about all the incredible applications you've had with these generative AI tools. And with any luck, I'm going to be seated next to this guy. So that's it for me. Thank you very much.